Hello, everybody. Welcome along. Paul Alster here with you at SportsBet TV, and I'm looking ahead to day 2 of York's Ebor Festival on Thursday, the 18th of August. This bulletin being recorded very early at mid-morning on Wednesday, which of course is before the first day of the meeting. So we don't know how my first day selections have done. We'll keep our fingers crossed that they run well. One thing we do know is that there has been rain overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday, and that has eased the ground from the good to firm to what is generally good now, with just a little bit of good to firm in places. And I think that's going to be fine for just about everybody. So I think that is pretty good news. Other thing that we know is that 3 of the 4 selections I've put up on day 1 have all been well backed. There's a surprise. Giza Sub 33 to 1 into 20s, Frankenstella 10 to 1 into 8s, and Cuban Breeze now into second favourite, down to around 6 to 1 generally on day 1. Let's see how they go. Well, let's hope they go well, along with the other runner at a big price in the later race. But let's go straight on to day 2. Just before I do, if you are new and you haven't already done so, please press the subscribe button. It's for free. You'll be able to stay in touch with all my bulletins, and you'll be able to make up your own mind whether you're going to be backing my selections or not. But the advice is for free. Right, Thursday, York, 3 o'clock. First selection is in the Clipper Logistics handicap over a mile. This is a rattling good mile handicap, 20 runners. As I said, it's good to firm in places. And really, this is generally a race where you can go from the top to the bottom of the betting list and give a chance to everything. I promise you. Included amongst the runners are 2 previous winners. What's the story? Keith Dalglish's lovely handicapper. He won it in 2019. And last year was the turn of Cruyff Turn, who won it for Tim Easterby. And an example of just how open this race is that it's 8 to 1 the field. So for looking around, you can get the shortest price would be 8 to 1 if you look around. And that price will be for Blue for You, who's one of a couple of really fancied runners for David O'Mara. This horse has run second a few times this year and got absolutely no run last time out behind Alban, his stable companion in the Golden Mile at Goodwood. Gone up £3 for that, but has been running consistently well, including at this track where he's placed already this season. And that run at Goodwood last time out was a real eye catcher because he was so unlucky. Alban is back for more. The Goodwood Golden Mile winner has since gone on to win at Ascot. He's got a £12 penalty, though. Now, he's really hit form with a vengeance, this horse, and has been group class in the past. So you can't rule out another big run from him, but a £12 penalty is a lot at a big meeting. Then you've got Godolphin with 2 runners. Charlie Appleby's Echo Point, who was second at HQ last time out on his first run since Maidan in February, so he should come on. And Shining Blue for Saeed bin Saror, who was unbeaten in 3 starts before finishing last when well fancied for the Golden Mile at Goodwood. May well have just not handled the track there. A lot of horses struggle on the Sussex Downs. And Frankie Dettori is going to ride for Godolphin there on Shining Blue. Now, Michael Dodd's another trainer with a few darts to throw at this one. Brunch, what a lovely handicapper he is. Just beaten ahead by Cruyff Turn here in May. And he's gone well here many times in the past as Brunch. Michael Dodds also has Northern Express, which I tipped you each way when it ran into a place in the International Handicap at a nice price at Ascot last month behind Fresh. And this one shouldn't be at all far away. Beat Alban here at York in June over 7 furlongs, but is now £7 higher. Not sure if Northern Express is better at 7 furlongs than the mile. We'll probably find out more on Thursday. And then, of course, we come to the horse that's already cropped up a few times in this description. And that is Cruyff Turn, who I'm very, very nearly tipped for you here. Indeed, I might even have a saver on Cruyff Turn because he's unbeaten at York. He's 2 from 2, including this race last year off 95. And he won here at the main meeting off 97. And has since been a good 3 lengths 6 at the Bunbury Cup on a less galloping track that probably wouldn't suit him, and only over 7 furlongs last time. He's back at his favourite track, York, and he must have a massive chance. He loves this track. And Cruyff Turn, I think he's about 12 to 1. And that's a big price in my book, and I may well have a saver on him. But the horse eventually that I just preferred to Cruyff Turn is called TYRRHENIAN and is trained by Roger Varian, who's operating at a 26% win strike rate at the moment. And Andrea Atzeni, who rides so many for Roger, is going to be on board. Now, this is a really interesting horse by Dark Angel. He didn't run at 2. And he very nearly didn't run at 3 because he didn't make his debut until mid-December of 2021, right at the end of his 3-year-old time. And he went and won first time out. That was mid-December at Newcastle in a mile novice stakes. And then he went back to Newcastle earlier this year in January. He won under a penalty by 6 lengths over the mile in a novice stakes. Then he returned to Newcastle to complete a hat-trick. First time in a handicap. He won off 87 very easily by 2.5 lengths. So 3 wins on the all-weather. He then went to Kempton in March after a little break and was 4 times, not 1, 2, or 3, but 4 times denied a run when he met his first defeat. And that was over 1.25 miles. But he finished on the bridle, only beaten half a length. He just could not get through. It was a hugely frustrating run, I'm sure, for Connections. He should have been unbeaten at that point. And obviously they felt he'd run a brilliant race, and they threw him into the £50,000 all-weather middle distance championship, which is a very hot race. And in the end, he was only beaten half a length at the Easter meeting by a living legend who I think is Mark Johnston. And that one subsequently went on to win the Group 2 Jockey Club Stakes at Newmarket. So the form really red hot of this horse's competitive action on the all-weather. Question was he going to act on turf? So they sent him down for his only run on turf so far in a listed race at Windsor. It was a muddling little race, a 4-runner affair, but a really classy race with horses rated high enough to be running in Group 1 company. And in the end, he came there after a 10-week break. He was beaten 2.25 lengths. He actually was last of the 4 behind My Oberon, who subsequently went on and finished 3rd in the Group 2 at Ascot. But he will have been better for the run, and he was out on the wing all the way. It was just a messy race. There was nothing in his run there that suggested to me he won't act as well on turf as he does on the all-weather, and he's bred for turf as well, a Dark Angel. And I just think he is so unexposed and back to a strong run mile for a stable that's in form. I'm really pleased to have seen a little bit of rain take the sting out of the ground, and I think this horse has a lot to offer. So with the prerequisite luck in running required, of course, in a 20-runner handicap, I think TYRRHENIAN has got a massive chance, and I just prefer him to Cruyff Turn. He is 16 to 1 each way for 6 places, the best offer at the time of this early recording on Wednesday morning, and that is with Bet365. That's TYRRHENIAN, York, 3 o'clock on Thursday. And then I take you on to the big race at York on Thursday. And this, for me, is an absolutely blindingly good Group 1 Yorkshire Oak, sponsored by Darley. 1.5 miles, good to firm in places. Only the 7 runners, but I'll come to that in a moment, because normally I don't offer suggestions in races of 8 runners or less. Now, I do think there is an outstanding betting opportunity here, and I'll come to it. But what a race is in prospect, because we've got Alpinista for Sir Mark Prescott, who is a wonderful filly. She's won her last 6, 4 of them, the last 4, all in Group 1 company. They've all been on the continent, but in good races, and included amongst her victims was in a German race, German Group 1 in August last year. She beat the subsequent Arc de Triomphe winner, Torquato Tasso, quite comfortably. Now, she's only had 1 run this season. That was in the Grand Prix de Saint-Cloud, and she was pretty impressive there. She's tough as teak, and she may well have come on for the run. She's rated 118, which is a very smart Group 1 rating, and she will be a tough nut to crack. Now we've got Magical Lagoon for Jessie Harrington coming over from Ireland. This one won what I thought was a substandard Group 2 Ribblesdale Stakes at Royal Ascot, but she showed a wonderful attitude. She was very, very game. And again, she showed a great attitude when winning what, for me, now I might be wrong about this, but I thought it was the poorest Irish Oaks I've seen in a long time. She beat the 101 rated Toy by just half a length. But she did battle, she really battled. And Jessie Harrington insists she's getting better and better and is improving. But I think she will need to improve quite a lot to win this. So as well as the Irish Oaks winner, we've also got the Epsom Oaks winner, the heroine there, Tuesday for Aidan O'Brien. And what a high-class finish she is. Third in the 1,000 guineas, second in the Irish 1,000. She won the Oaks, probably a little bit lucky because poor old Emily Upjohn had to come from a mile back after an awkward start. And then they threw her into the Irish Derby Tuesday against the Colts. She didn't really cut it, beaten over 10 lengths by Westover. But I still don't rule out a good show from her. And then another fascinating runner in this race is the French raider for the mighty Andre Fabre Raclette. And I always respect Andre Fabre. I think he is the master trainer. And this horse is to be feared because it's only had one run at 1.5 miles, and that was last time out, and it won a Group 2 at Longshot quite nicely. So it could have a lot more to offer at the 1.5 mile trip. So I think we're setting this up really to be a superb Group 1 fillies race. But my choice, and this will not be a surprise to regular followers of me at Sportsbet, is the filly La Petite COCO, trained in Ireland by Paddy Toomey and the mount of Billy Lee. And I make no apology, this is my favourite horse in training, La Petite COCO. I absolutely adore her. I think she is tremendous. And I'll be quite honest that even though these days I rarely bet anti-post, I have got involved and have backed her at some fancy prices for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, because for me, she seems just the type who could improve through this 4-year-old season and go to Longchamp, hopefully with a bit of give in the ground, and show just what she can do. But I think, especially after the rain overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday, I think La Petite COCO is going to run a mighty race. Now, she has won 5 of her 8 races, and her only defeat in her last 6 was a half-length second at Naas in a listed race when they were trying her for the first time beyond 1 mile, and they rode her fairly conservatively, and she just got beaten half a length there. She would have won with a more positive ride, but that showed them that she would stay at least 1.25 miles. She then went on to, amongst her wins, be massively impressive in a Group 3 at Cork, beating Thunderkiss by 5.5 lengths, and that was her first and only try at 1.5 miles. And that is the trip that Paddy Toomey insists is her best trip, and it certainly looked it, the way she won pulling up against horses, plenty of horses rated over 100 at Cork. But after that, they decided to take a chance and drop her back in trip, and they went for the Group 2 Blandford Stakes at the Curragh last September, and she got the better of a memorable tussle with an outstanding filly, Aidan O'Brien's Love, who was very, very high class. And in the end, La Petite COCO cut her down and got up in the last stride to beat the brilliant Love, and that was in the Group 2 Blandford Stakes. Now, after that, she was given a rest. They decided not to go to America or to Globetrot, but to just play it steady with La Petite COCO. And indeed, she was off for nearly 10 months until she reappeared at the Irish Derby meeting at the Curragh on June the 26th. And she proved too good at 1.25 miles, not her best trip, but she was too good for the 115 rated William Haggas trained Maestra, and that was in the Group 1 Pretty Polly Stakes. The third horse was La Petite COCO's own stable companion, Ross Carberry. She went on to win a Group 3 in really good style last time out, and Ross Carberry, last time I looked, was one of the favourites, if not the favourite, for the Ebor £1 million race on Saturday, and Ross Carberry was getting £5 when trounced by La Petite COCO at the Curragh. So, if indeed Paddy Toomey is right and La Petite COCO is getting better and better, now she's running at her optimum trip. She is still unexposed at this trip. I think the rain is going to help her. I think she could be on her way after this to who knows which big races, but hopefully including the Arc, maybe the Breeders' Cup Turf, the Japan Cup. Everything for me is in her favour, but it won't be easy because Alpinista, I think, is the toughest of the opposition, and Raclette, I think, is a dark horse. But La Petite COCO is the one. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I looked at the odds comparison side. And even though there are only 7 runners, there are 3 firms offering 3 places. They are Coral, Ladbrokes, and Betfred, and they're all going 11-2 each way, La Petite Coco for 3 places. I think that is a brilliant bet. And barring anything unfortunate or some ridiculously unlucky run, I cannot see her being out of the first 3. And I do think she's going to be very hard to beat. That is La Petite Coco in the Yorkshire Oaks, York, Thursday, 3:35. And then very quickly, on to my final selection on Thursday. And this is a tough race. It is the 5:20, the 7 furlong fillies handicap, 14 runners. And the horse that's attracted all the attention is Queen Aminato for the William Haggas stable, who was incredibly unlucky. She could never get out and get a proper run at Haydock last time out, only beaten half a length, and the handicapper hasn't put her up. She remains on 82, so she could be a blot on the handicap because she probably would have won easy had she got a clear run there. But this is another day, and it could be another story. Roger Varian has Mubadra, who's won 3 of her last 4, gone up a total of £12, but there could be more to come for a yard in form. I don't think anybody will begrudge Harry Dunlop at win at the Ebor meeting. Of course, he's handing in his license. Incredibly, he says he can't make it pay. Such a good trainer. A Day in Asia is his representative. She's on a 4-timer. 3 wins, completing a hat-trick, all over 6 furlongs, the latest in the Showgirl Cup sprint. Will she stay? She has gone up in trip as well, but I think a lot of people's heart will be A Day in Asia. And Adikos, very interesting for William Bethel. Lots of solid efforts enlisted in Group 3 company this term, and she drops into a handicap now off 93. So she's yet another who has a solid chance. But I'm taking one here who isn't an obvious call, and that is a filly called Illustrating. She is trained at Midland at Spigot Lodge by Carl Burke, and Danny Tudhope is on board. And this filly is trying a new trip, and this is what interests me. I'm hopeful she's going to improve for going up to 7 furlongs. Now, last year, she was a very talented juvenile. She won 2 of her first 3. Her only defeat in her first 3 races was in the Queen Mary Stakes, where she was a very respectable 7th to Quick Susie. She went on to be 3rd in a Group 3 over 5 furlongs at Longshot. She ended the season finishing 2nd to Twilight Jet in the Group 3 Cornwallis Stakes at Newmarket. And she tried 6 furlongs in the Cheveley Park Stakes when she was 6th to Tenebrism in the Group 1 there. So they've obviously had a very high opinion of her as a 2-year-old. Question mark, as always, with very good 2-year-olds, are they going to train on? I suppose some people would say that the jury is out because she has failed to place in 3 starts as a 3-year-old, but I think she's shown enough to suggest she has trained on, although not to the same level as last year. She was a 3-length 5th in a 5 furlong listed race at Sandown first time out this season, but I think that's too short for her now, and she probably needed it. Last time out, she went to Chester. Now, that was a 6 furlong listed race. She was parked out wide all the way, and if you know Chester, it's such a tight track. Going wide around the outside is a real disadvantage, and she never got into it. She was 6th, beaten 4.5 lengths behind Ebor River. I've watched the race a few times back on the video, and she's keeping on well enough, hands and heels, in the closing stages. And I think jockeys come back and said, listen, she really is asking for 7 furlongs now. And I think they've done the right thing, putting her in a 7 furlong race here. But what has really persuaded me is the form of that Chester race. I was broadcasting the racing on Sunday afternoon, and the horse that came 2nd behind Ebor River that day was Princess Shabnam. And on Sunday afternoon, she won a very hot listed race at Pontefract in really good style for Sean Woods. And then 10 minutes later, the horse who was 4th in that race at Chester, that is Tippy Toes of Mark Johnston's, won a really valuable Chelmsford handicap, a hot race off 97. So the form of that race could not be better. And I think if Illustrating had been better drawn, she would have been right in the thick of it. So given all that, and the fact that she's first time in a handicap of just 94, she's stepping up to 7 furlongs for the first time. And looking at her pedigree, I think it'll suit her because her half-sister is a Canadian Group 2 winner of a 1.25 miles, and she has 2 other half siblings that have both won as well. over 1.25 miles. So the breeding on the dam side suggests that illustrating could really improve for this trip. Of course, you never know until you try, but I think it's worth a try at 1 4 14 to 1 each way. And that's the best odds on offer as of around 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning. And that's with Bet365 for 4 places. So illustrating is my last suggestion at York on Thursday in the 5:20. So there we have it. As always, I wish you the best of luck. And we'll find out soon enough how our day one runners are going to go. I'll be back tomorrow at a similar time to look ahead to the third day's action, Nunthorpe Day at York. And I hope that you are going to join me, Paul Alster here at SportsBet, and tell your friends all about us. It's free, this tipping service. And as I say, 2 more days still to come of the Ebor. I'll speak to you very soon indeed with the day 3 details. Bye for now.